All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
Well, yesterday, I spotlighted financial warfare that the Canadian government has declared on its protest movement. It amounts to a full-scale unbanking of dissidents that are against the Canadian regime, including canceling mortgages, canceling insurance, canceling the very financial architecture that enables individual freedom and movement in the modern world. The move so close to the United States raises a troubling question. Is it possible here? The answer to that question is complicated. On the one hand, we have a much more robust case law against the type of unilateral unbanking that we saw in Canada. On the other, it's not like we haven't just watched the Department of Justice and the Biden administration use the war on terror machine against its own citizens. But fundamentally, the conclusion I've come to here is the one that mirrors the Patriot Act and war on terror debates. There are always justifications for gathering data, safety, patriotism, stopping terrorism, but the more amassing of data, the more information that is collected, even if innocent at first, eventually can be utilized as a tool by the state for nefarious purposes. Canada claimed that it was only temporarily invoking the Emergencies Act, that this financial warfare would be limited in scope. And yet, here is the Deputy Prime Minister just 2 days ago saying that the new measures must be put into place permanently.
I believe do need to be expanded to cover crowdsourcing platforms and payment platform and their payment providers. So that is something that we need to do and we will do, and that needs to be in place permanently.
Permanently, huh? I already played for you all yesterday the clip of the Ottawa police chief saying that financial warfare will continue for, quote, months to come. In other words, now that this Rubicon has been crossed, there is no turning back. They are not going to give this up. That is the story of data collection and use by high authorities. It doesn't look like a tool of oppression until it is. And so we all have to be careful to remove all tools. It's in that context I highlight a matter of grave importance right now. After a little-noticed IRS regulation back in November of 2021, it says that anyone who wants to use IRS services online, including, quote, viewing and making payments, updating mail addresses, would have to do so through a contractor called ID.me. All accounts would have to transition over to that contractor by 2022, which requires facial recognition technology done by that third party to validate your identity. Yes, you heard me correctly. The IRS, through no act of Congress and through an administrative change, said that facial recognition is required by the U.S. government now to pay your taxes. Now, luckily, that got enough attention that they backed down, in part. Did they really? Because instead of facial recognition, you can now verify your identity through a live interview with a representative from that third-party contracting service, ID.me. So cool, your only two options are this: give the government your face, or do a live interview with a third-party government contractor. Now, according to the IRS, taxpayers' video selfies proving their identity will be, quote, permanently deleted. Yeah, forgive me if I don't trust them. But what alarms me is the rationale here, including support from elite media. The Washington Post is running an op-ed from the former head of policy at the Department of Homeland Security. Guess what they say? IRS should not back down from using facial recognition. Why? Well, because there's tax fraud. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. It's maybe even controversial. The problems and cost of tax fraud, which amount to less than like 1% of all government spending, is worth the cost of living in a free society and not having the tax authorities have your literal biometric data. Already, we are seeing a full-fledged federal takeover of the online financial system. You need a face scan or a live interview to pay your taxes. If you have a side hustle and you're accepting payments on Venmo or other apps like PayPal, and you made over just $600 in 1 year, then those companies now are obligated to give that information to the IRS. Now look, are a lot of these people not paying their taxes? Yeah, that's true. And that's wrong, I guess. But let me say this unequivocally. What's worse, not paying your taxes when you're cutting hair and waiting tables and being a mover and barely making your ends meet as gas prices destroy your daily ability to live your life? Or being a multimillionaire hedge funder who gets to use financial fakery and tax loopholes legally to not pay any taxes? I'll declare this. Until their tax fraud's dealt with, when the IRS unit, which is responsible for going after the uber rich, has exhausted its role, then okay, we can talk about people making $1,000 on Venmo or PayPal. But in our current system, where it is completely legal for most of the richest and most scummy members of our society to pay nearly nothing, while people who are struggling and are getting hit for tax evasion, screw that. It's not only not fair, it's wrong. The architecture we are building today, through the new IRS regulations, in addition to these Venmo and PayPal requirements, is the means through which similar financial warfare can be declared in the United States. If they can use it for tax purposes, they know your account, your username, everything. All of that can be weaponized in the future. If they need your face for tax purposes, well, they can use that in the future to match protesters using cameras to their IRS accounts, which is linked to your bank account information. I say screw all of that. We need to reject all of these tools sold to us to combat fraud, when the real fraud is giving up so much of ourselves to them in the first place, only for them to misuse our trust again and again and again. I mean, can you believe that? Financial recognition, facial recognition tools. They're like, yeah, don't worry. We'll never.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.